Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in this Thursday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Russ is off tonight. Well, one man is dead after a fiery crash west of Billings this afternoon. Tonight, authorities trying to figure out who the victim is and where he's from after flames engulfed the crash scene. At this hour, investigators say they don't know why the vehicle crashed, but witnesses say the SUV was traveling at a high rate of speed. Just after 4 o'clock today, the vehicle crashed into the concrete support of a railroad overpass at Folsom Road and King Avenue. Montana Highway Patrol Sergeant Eric Gilbert tells us shortly after impact, the vehicle burst into flames and was quickly engulfed. Those flames spread to the train trestle above, sending black smoke into the sky. Now, Gilbert says the fire damaged the vehicle so severely, investigators could not read the vehicle's identification number or its license plates. This has also made identification of the victim difficult. King Avenue West from 72nd to 80th was shut down but reopened 2 hours later. Now, authorities now confirm a 5-year-old boy drowned south of Bozeman yesterday at the Highlight Reservoir. According to Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, the boy was visiting with his family from out of state. The boy's body had been underwater for a short period of time. His family members located him, but efforts to resuscitate the child were unsuccessful. A man accused of fracturing a boy's skull at the Mineral County Fair this past weekend says he felt it was his duty as a patriot to discipline the boy. Court documents show 39-year-old Kurt Brockway asked the boy to take his hat off during the national anthem, and the boy refused, instead allegedly cursed back at him. That's when Brockway says he grabbed the boy by his throat, lifted him in the air and slammed him to the ground. Brockway's attorney says that Brockway is a disabled veteran with a traumatic brain injury and that Brockway felt his actions were under a direct order from the president due to the president's condemnation of people kneeling or disrespecting the flag or anthem. Brockway's attorney said his client said, quote, "I guess I messed up because he got hurt, but I'm a patriot." Brockway's attorney says he intends to present his client's neuropsychological evaluation to the court and that Brockway will plead not guilty. Now, if a mass shooting ever happened in Billings, local emergency personnel say they are as prepared as any in the country. As MTN's David J. reports, the Billings Police and Fire Departments are working together with the latest tactics to save lives.
All right, I got an open door, right?
An active shooter portion of that component is law enforcement's response to an active shooter situation and how we are able to quickly eliminate the threat. But usually in active shooter situations, we have high numbers of casualties and injured.
We're not getting into the hot zone to where they think the shooter still is, but we are getting into the warm zone where they've kind of cleared that area. We somewhat know where the shooter is, and under their protection, we are starting care.
The training involves a report of a shooting at the Billings Career Center.
If I can bring 10 or 15 fire department personnel with me, with my 10 officers, now I have more manpower to deal with the mass numbers of casualties.
You know, we don't have to do what they do, we have to learn what they're doing so we can, effectively make the whole operation work the way it's supposed to.
The police and firefighters are entering each classroom, trying to find out if there are any more shooters and threats, and also looking for victims.
That's clear. It is our goal to get the fire department and EMS into where the injured are at as soon as possible.
You know, we're going to extract those victims and bring them all to a central, what we call a casualty collection point. And that's where we can start to begin treatment.
The practice is the preparation in case of a real shooting.
Law enforcement can't do this alone. EMS can't do this alone. Fire can't do it alone. The hospitals aren't able to do this alone. And this is truly one of those incidents that we have to really come together as a community with our resources and utilize them.
Two different occupations, but when you put the two together, you have an outstanding organization that's protecting the citizens of Billings. We're well ahead of the pace out there.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
And David tells us everyone in each department will complete this one-day training this week. Now, with more pressure for tougher gun control laws, Republican Senate Leader Mitch McConnell now says lawmakers will work together. CBS News has confirmed the National Rifle Association's top official has had several phone conversations with President Trump this week. Katherine Johnson reports.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says gun control legislation will be on the agenda after the August recess.
We're going to have these bipartisan discussions, and when we get back, hopefully be able to come together and actually pass something.
In a radio interview, the Kentucky Republican says he does not plan to bring the Senate back early for discussions, while lawmakers face pressure after the weekend's deadly mass shootings.
This isn't about hunting. This isn't about taking care of your family or protecting your home.
Democratic presidential candidate Tim Ryan led a caravan of gun law reform activists from Ohio to McConnell's hometown of Louisville, Kentucky.
We're not going to let this issue be defined by the NRA anymore. We are going to define this issue.
CBS News has confirmed NRA leader Wayne LaPierre spoke with President Trump several times Tuesday. In a statement, LaPierre said the proposals being discussed, quote, would make millions of law-abiding Americans less safe and less able to defend themselves. President Trump expressed interest in background checks before departing the White House Wednesday for Ohio and Texas.
I think both Republican and Democrat are getting close to a bill to doing something on background checks.
As for a ban on assault rifles, the president said there's, quote, no appetite for it. Katherine Johnson, CBS News, the White House.
Now, the NRA tweeted today that none of the current background check proposals would have prevented this weekend's tragedies in Dayton and El Paso. A 10-year-old lawsuit alleging the FBI performed inadequate law enforcement on Montana Indian reservations was back in court today. A federal judge rejected a request for a jury trial, but did set a course to resolve the case. The lawsuit was brought by the family of Stephen Bear Crane, who was shot and killed 14 years ago on the Crow Indian Reservation. The family says the FBI did only a cursory job of investigating the case and decided that the killer, a white man, acted in self-defense. The suit says the FBI discriminates against Native Americans by not providing them with adequate law enforcement. On Thursday, District Judge Sam Haddon of Helena rejected the family's request for a jury trial, but he did say he hopes to rule on the case as soon as possible and, if needed, hold a trial to resolve disputed facts in the case. After the hearing, Bear Crane's family said they hope the suit can lead to justice for their son and others.
We do have the hope that it will be reinvestigated and it will be handled properly so that in the outcome of it that justice will be served for Stephen.
It would be justice for other people also to give, because there's a lot of crimes that happened on the reservation that hasn't been prosecuted properly, and just to for other people to be able to get the justice that they deserve.
Now, this case has been to the U.S. Supreme Court and the 9th U.S. Circuit Court twice on separate issues within the case. Well, on the weather scene tonight, Bob, so many of us are excited about another year of Montana Fair, but even better, the temperatures for Montana Fair.
Yeah, it's been great. Now, today is a very hot day. It's the day before the Montana Fair, so things do cool off a little bit, and we're going to probably get back into the 80s. But what about later on in the week, like let's say next Wednesday through the following Sunday? Here's what the 6 to 10 day forecast is showing, and you'll notice, even though we were very hot across much of Montana today, by next Wednesday, it's going to be cool across almost all of Montana, and all the heat, that's going to be down farther in the Central Plains and from Texas all the way down to places like Florida. What about precipitation? Well, it looks like with the cooler temperatures, we are probably going to see most of the drier air continuing to stay down around the Texas Big Bend area, the Four Corner states, and also parts of New England. But back here in Montana, we're looking at wetter conditions also Wednesday through next Sunday. And so it's going to be actually some pretty nice weather for us just in time, cooling down for Montana Fair. And it's going to stay that way for the entire fair. We'll have the rest of your forecast in a few more minutes, Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, we've all been fascinated by the amazing wildlife at our national parks. Now, for some, they've decided to get up close and personal with those not-so-gentle giants. Now, this choice recently led to a young girl getting thrown in the air by an angered Yellowstone bison. Now, for the individuals who want to pursue these risks, the National Park Service has released a chart to help you out. Take a look. The handy chart shows all the locations where it is acceptable to pet wildlife. As you can see here, that place is nowhere. Park officials continue to stress the importance of never getting near wildlife to keep you and the animals safe. Up next on Q2, the heroes who saved lives overseas are now helping save lives right here in Billings. We'll check out tonight's ceremony from Dealer Park. And in sports tonight, friends first, rivals second. Those two worlds collide during a great finish at today's Senior State Am. Highlights on the way.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.